It's me, Sony. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm showing a game called Jurassic Park Trespasser. Now I'm obviously normally not playing games in my videos, but this one I wanted to show off because it's really quite a surprising game. This one. Now, as you can you've just seen, I've just sort of picked up an object. This game actually has all physics objects, so every object that you can pick up is entirely a physics object, and that's because the hand itself is ragdoll physics, which is pretty relevant to some of the stuff that I'm working on right now, which is of course ragdoll physics in VR. And this game pretty much began that trend, so I'm pretty much calling this game the one that has the very first ever presence system. I'm using the phrase presence system for my my own hybrid presence system, which is what I'm calling the setup for ragdoll physics in VR. And you can see that I've actually got a physics object which I can move around as a physics object actively while I'm holding it. This is not a VR game, and that's because this game was released in 1998. A very, very old game. I was about, 6 years old? Yeah, that's a long time ago. Which is incredible considering they've managed to create a physics engine like this before even Half-Life 2. So obviously Half-Life 2 pretty much known for its innovation in the idea of having physics-based objects which you can move around.
Steady.
Oh, she just keeps talking. Move around and then obviously stand on them and use them as part of the physics puzzles. So you can see here, I can move this object here and I can actually stand on top of it. Ignore the character model there. They've actually used that as a health bar, that little heart tattoo. So obviously they did the same thing with guns here. If I pick up this here standard weapon here, you can see that the recoil itself, I'm just going to turn the gun so that it's pointing sideways. Yeah, we have full control over the actual hand angle, and you can see the gun itself is also, the recoil is actually physics based.
6.
So you can see if I
5
push it into this wall here, this little
3
box,
2.
it actually prevents it from recoiling.
Only 2 left.
Which is incredible. This game is 20 years ago. It was made 20 years ago, and they did what
Empty.
I'm now doing in VR. Or at least trying to do in VR.
6 rounds.
And that's why I wanted to show it off. It's incredible what they managed to do. In fact, Gabe Newell in an interview had mentioned this game as the inspiration and pretty much the reason why they decided to use physics in game in Half-Life 2. So this is the inspiration behind Half-Life 2
that's what that feels like.
Using physics. And obviously you can see it's even got breakable objects. Oop.
4 3.
If I could aim. Obviously the game didn't do very well in terms of gameplay because the physics engine was just too far ahead of its time. But you can see here that you've got a pretty standard Half-Life 2 style puzzle where you put the box where you need it, stand on top of the box, and now you can climb over the wall.
Maybe
So
if there's a
pretty
phone
incredible.
line or a radio.
Oh, I'm able to grab that, but it doesn't. I have a feeling that is actually a physics object. Oh, it is. It just opens the other way. I could have just literally grabbed the door and pull it. Oh well. So what I did, I actually rebuilt this little area in a very templatey sort of way in my own little engine, just to show you how far we've come in time, in 20 years, in terms of physics engines. And you have to bear in mind, I didn't actually create any physics engine or anything like that. I didn't make the game engine. I'm using Unity in my game. And I'm using NVIDIA PhysX, which comes as part of the Unity sort of setup. So here we are back in ProjectTX. Let me just get over to this little area that I've recreated of the same place. Let's plonk the camera over there. And you can see we're doing the same thing now, 20 years later, with a modern day physics engine, which is pretty cool, but at the same time, bloody hell, can you imagine if that game was quite successful in terms of its gameplay mechanics, and it just sort of set off this idea of using physics-based characters and everything in first-person shooters. I mean, we do use physics nowadays in first-person shooters, but it doesn't really. It doesn't really go over to the actual objects and stuff like that. Yeah, they are sort of physics-based objects when you're moving them around and stuff like that. But oh, come on. But unfortunately, it didn't really become that sort of thing while holding weapons and stuff like that. Obviously, nowadays we can do this with a much faster engines, much more performance in the physics. You can see how much better everything is. There's none of that sort of wobble left anymore. You know, I can move my hand quite quickly. There's none of that wobble going on from the old Trespasser, which is it's just sort of unusual. Obviously, we can get so much more little bullets coming out as well, and we've got more physics objects all over the place, which you can hear just falling about. I really need to fix that sort of sound happening all day. Our physics engines are so much more capable now of just sort of having loads of objects just push into each other. And, you know, it's just something I wanted to show, just sort of say, this is how long it took us to do something that was done 20 years ago, man. I can't believe it took us this long to do this. Obviously, it's the same thing. We can move these physics objects now. Oops, that was a weird grab. We can move these physics objects now and just clamber on top of them. It's the same thing now, and we've been able to do this for a while now with games like Gang Beasts and Human Fall Flat, all of those types of games, and not even completely new games. I mean, those are quite recent. You know, this kind of stuff has been possible for quite a while. Obviously, Half-Life 2 being one of the better ones, one of the earliest sort of examples of where we just completely implemented physics, movement physics, into the game, moving physics objects, and just the ability to properly stand on them. It's quite unfortunate that we didn't really start doing this years ago, to be honest. But there you go. It's just something weird. I just wanted to sort of show off that game, Jurassic Park Trespasser, Jurassic Trespasser. What the hell? What a name. I just wanted to show that game off because it's like, how much insight do you have that you managed to do this 20 years ago? It's just insane. It's absolutely insane, and it's a real shame that that game didn't really do as well as it could have done. And as a result, we sort of delayed ourselves by many years in terms of getting this kind of physics into games. So yeah, there you go. You can see I'm sort of starting to add a few more details and everything, and starting to work on the game anyway. So do pop back when I've got more to show you. Right now, I just wanted to make this little short video showing off the original presence system, which is not this. It is Jurassic Park Trespasser. Absolutely incredible. 1998. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.